Hi there. So maybe I need to get a little closer. It's the 20th day of July 2021. I'm 2 days into the go live of my big project. Remember, I switched jobs to come to Ventura City to be their project manager. And I had 3 projects that I took on. One of them disappeared because of COVID. And then the second one, both of them are actually coincidentally finishing right now. One is pretty much wrapped up. The other one, the big one, is went live yesterday. So what a week! Oh my gosh, gee, if you've ever led something to completion and it's got a big public debut, it's a bit of an anxiety. It's stressful. So yesterday went well, better than I had hoped, and today went even better than that. So I guess I should be pleased. We've got a couple more days. This first week is the doozy, right? We've got a couple more days, more testing to do. Well, not testing, but actually, live in production activities to really see this system through. So instead of just spending the day as I usually do, going down to, usually at work, I go down to the beach after work and take a swim in the ocean there in Ventura, and then have dinner and then go back to my Airbnb. I decided that today I would take a little bit of a ride. I'm in Carpinteria, which is another beachside community. It's the next beachside community up from Ventura. You can see the beautiful Carpinteria beach here. And Carpinteria is famous as, apparently, so they say, it's the safest beach in the world, and that's due to the levelness of the beach. It just goes out at a very shallow gradient all the way out, so you don't get deep very quickly, and you can't get over your head, so to speak. So that's Carpinteria Beach. I used to work here. When I first came back from Japan, when I first came back from Japan, long time ago, long before the softypapa years, this was 1992, I came, you've heard this story before perhaps, I came before Yumiko. I came with $2,000 and a dream, and that dream was to set up life in Santa Barbara, which is the next city up. And I didn't have enough money for a hotel or anything, so I just slept on the beach every night, and then I got out. This is before the internet, get out the want ads and look for a job, and I applied for jobs, and I was lucky enough to find a really nice place to live on Del Monte Avenue, about 4 blocks from downtown, within walking distance of downtown Santa Barbara. Got a job here in Carpinteria, so I would commute back and forth, and that was my life. And there's a couple of names that I remember: Dick, Diane, Neil, Skip, Bill, and Jose, and Sylvia were the names, very important names that will always be associated with here, and a couple of other people too. But that's 2-3 lifetimes ago, such a long time ago. So there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. I got this book. Remember, I told you that I was going to buy this book off of Amazon. It's a really nice moleskin journal, because I started scribbling my thoughts in my iPhone to talk to you about here. And but the problem was, once the camera's running, I can't look at the notes, and I couldn't remember. So I got this, and I've only got a couple of scribbles in there so far. And I went through the first 2 with a scratch, and I've got 2 more. So let's talk about these. The first one is 50% bacteria. So I finished a book 2 days ago called The Lives of a Cell by Lewis Thomas. Kind of a dated book from the 70s about perspectives on biology from that era. So a little bit interesting, kind of old stuff, but nevertheless very interesting. For example, they didn't really know, they were just discovering about pheromones back then. So to Lewis Carroll, it was like this new novel idea that humans may give out pheromones, odors, just like the other animals in the animal kingdom. And how barbaric and how savage. Well, he didn't really say that, but still the impression was that, like how can it be? And I remember having that feeling the first time that I heard about pheromones, that we too, and of course the animals can be doing that, right? We're giving off smells. It's such an animal thing to do. But we humans, we're such good communicators. We speak with our hands. Why would we need to give off smells and to signal to one another? What a gross. And that was the perspective in the book, right? And I remember that perspective. It's like I remember the first time I saw a female doctor, and thinking to myself, female doctor? Women can't be doctors. You know, I disabused myself of that idea very quickly. So there was that. But he said a couple of things in the book that really stood out. For example, the idea that of symbiosis, that our internal structures, our bodies are composed of bits and pieces of other life forms. Not just having like bacteria in our gut or on our skin or in the creases of our folds or our nooks and crannies, which is a fact, but also the fact that our cells themselves may be composed of maybe collaborations of single-celled organisms, maybe even organisms without a nucleus, we'll call prokaryotes, right? So that the early days back, 4.5 billion years ago, when the seas began to form life, it may have been prokaryotes swimming about here and there, but maybe two prokaryotes might come together and form some sort of union, right? Like maybe you'll get like a kind of a squiggly one that comes onto a kind of a bulbous one that just floats around and pink, and they somehow form a union. And the fact that the squiggly one can kind of do this and the other one can benefit, mutual benefit, right? And that may have been the first, for example, of a cilia or a flagellum on a cell. Likewise, the organelles within the cell may have formed the same way. And he cites the example I know I talked about this in the last video, so I'm repeating myself a little bit, but he cites the fact of our mitochondria, the energy producing organelles within each and every one of our cells, of every metazoan. There's the word I was struggling with in the last video. Not just every metazoan, but every multicellular eukaryotic organism, right, has animals at least have the mitochondria that are the energy producers. Likewise, in my cousin back here, the plant, the tree there, all the green in there is the chlorophyll, so the chloroplast. So chloroplast and mitochondria appear to be basically the same thing, right? With the one getting its energy from the input of our food, and the other getting the energy from the sun. That one giving out CO2, me giving out CO2, that one giving out oxygen, which then provides a nice cycle. And of course, we owe it all big time to the blue-green algae out in the sea. So he cited that. He cited the fact of the mitochondria in us. So the mitochondria appear to be foreigners. How do we know they're foreigners? They got their own gosh darn DNA, of all things. So within every one of our cells, there are at least two sets of DNA. The DNA that we each got from our mother and father, and the gosh darn DNA that we all inherited from our mother through our mitochondria. They call that maternal DNA. I can't remember the word for it. Mitochondrial DNA comes from your mother. The reason being, of course, that the egg of the animal, the metazoan, the egg consists of an actual full-on cell, right, with the cell wall, and then the organelles within, and the nucleus, and then the mitochondria. But a sperm apparently doesn't. Does sperm not have mitochondria? Oh, the sperm does have mitochondria, but apparently it kind of sloughs off. So it is possible to get a little paternal mitochondria in there. They have to have mitochondria, otherwise they wouldn't move around. But somehow, when you have a baby, it inherits its mother's mitochondria. So interesting. So even though the mitochondria are not themselves independent organizations, I don't think you can pull a mitochondria out and pop it in the sea and it'll go about its business. I don't think that'll happen anymore. But it still has its own damn DNA. Likewise, the chlorophyll has its own DNA. So that's curious. Now, it goes even deeper than that. And again, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on last video. I think I might be repeating myself, but it helps me to remember to explain it again. The centromeres on all of our genes, right? The middle part between where the two alleles come together, that apparently appears to be its own organism as well, has its own damn DNA. And he concludes the book by citing 2 examples. One with an organism that has 3 genomes, 3 sets of independent DNA, and another one that has 5. Can you imagine that? There's organism, and that organism happens to be the organism that lives in the gut of termites that helps to digest cellulose, that apparently is a composite organism that has 5 genomes, 5 sets of DNA, of an independent DNA, one for the organism itself, for the host bacteria, another or 2 more for the agents that act in the place of mitochondria, apparently because it's an anaerobic environment down there. It needed a substitute. Somehow it found a damn substitute, right, in 2 other types of prokaryotes that became that role. A 3rd one in the centromeres, as I mentioned before, and a 4th one, for the cilia that's on the outside of this damn thing that propels it around. Now, what is that? Is that like a chimera? Is that like, well, what the hell is that? Is that an organism, or is it a collection of organisms? So thus the question then, what the hell are we? Am I an organism, or am I a set of organisms that are mutually dependent upon one another? And if so, what percentage of me is the mitochondria? What percentage of me is that, and the rest of the bacteria, and the stuff in my gut, and the rest? Could it be more than 50%? Am I half me? Is half of me not me? I remember reading somewhere that if you snapped your fingers and I was to disappear, but all the things that are not me would remain behind, a perfect image of me would remain in 3 dimensions of all the stuff that isn't me. So begs the question, just what the hell am I? So that's the 50% bacteria. Oh, and the second thing I wanted to talk about was the termite energy, which I happened to cover that already in this. So goody for me, I covered both things I wanted to talk about, so I can cross them off my list. Ta-da, ta-da. Let's see if there's any comments, and then I'm going to stop and go for a swim in the safest beach in the world, as they say. I'm going to poke an eye out. Yesterday I broke my glasses, and I keep putting it on like this. I'm just keep waiting for me to poke an eye out. Here we go. Is it true, the pheromone thing? Oh yeah, well it is true. Yeah. Pheromones, we were quite rife with pheromones apparently. Pheromones to stimulate. I mean, there's lots of things you can cite. For example, the fact that you put a couple of women together and are working together or living together for a while, and they tend to align their menstrual cycles, and that changes. Then the alignment happens in accord with the most socially dominant female of the group, and then that all gets thrown off if you put them in a human male in the picture. That somehow swings everything off, and that's all happening through pheromones apparently. Plus there's all kinds of other pheromones that give off, sexual alertness or whatever. I'm sure we're communicating all over the place with it, and we'll discover lots of things. Wait, so I am basically a fortress of living creatures. Hi says that. Yes, apparently you are. So am I. We are not what we think we are. So that begs the question. You may have heard, and I think I tweeted this out before, the idea that it's not my idea, I heard it somewhere else, that a chicken is simply an egg's way to make another egg, right? Wrap your head around that idea, right? Chicken is just an egg's way to make another egg. Fully flipping the perspective, right? That could it be that a human is simply a mitochondria's way of making more mitochondria? In which case, who's in charge? Who the hell is in charge? So I've got the consciousness, and this consciousness, but it seems to be running things. But am I running it for my benefit or for the mitochondria's benefit, or just where does it get started? Where does the seed of reason be? And likewise for the tree back there. I mean, is it sitting? There's that structure. Just looking at it right there, it kind of looks like that structure is there, kind of supporting the green chlorophyll, doesn't it? The chloroplast, namely, the chlorophyll is just the bit that makes the energy. But the chloroplast seems to be, if you just look at it like that, it looks like it's a chloroplast supporting structure to distribute them all around. Do we need to have consciousness to have meaning or to be in charge? Interesting question. More and more this stuff leads me down the road to thinking, free will, we ain't got none. We are nothing more than, as I once said long ago in Japan, we are nothing more than complex chemical reactions. And I've added to that the idea that we can make any decision we want, but we could never have made any decision other than the one we actually did. And with that, I think I'll sign off. So I'll strip down, and oh, there's a guy floating out there right now. That looks very inviting. And then I'm gonna go for a nice swim, and then I will head out. So I'll find a nice little restaurant here in Carpinteria. Shh, psst, shh, don't tell anybody. But change, she may be a-coming. Change, she may be a-coming for my life, my wife's life, my daughter's life. We'll see. I'll kind of keep you posted, but I got to keep it on the down low. Keep it on, so shh, just keep it amongst us, okay? Well, this is pretty deep. Oh yeah, well, I guess that's how it is. Then thank you, Sayania, for saying have a nice swim. I hope you have a great day. Let's all make it the best day we possibly can. Isn't that so East Coast there with the sand dune thingy right there? It's just, this is such a beautiful beach. I really do love it here. Carpenteria, California. The safest beach, apparently, in the world. Go figure, who knew? So let's get out there and do a little swimming, shall we? Okay, you remember everybody, the path of wildness, it's easy to find. The course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind, and the direction of our first inclination. And don't waste a minute of it. Don't waste a minute of today. Seriously. I'm trying to pick my words carefully. The end is near for all of us. That's brilliant sun behind us. I have very limited time to see this. Very limited. I know it sounds like hyperbole, but I mean it. Once the end comes, it will have taken me by surprise. Likewise, you don't have very much time either. And remember, the things that we regret in life are not the things the choices, the decisions the actions that we took. It's the ones typically that we didn't. So I'm not going to wait a moment longer. I'm going to get out there in that water, swim around. I'm going to feel so good for it. And Jason H., you're going to regret that you didn't come with me tonight. This is the you. But tomorrow you will have your chance. We'll go swim tomorrow, Jason H. He knows who he is. He probably won't see this, but if he does, he knows who he is. Bye, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.